In mid-June, Pakistan brokered a 14-point memorandum of understanding between the United States and Iran. For a brief window, it appeared the Strait of Hormuz might finally see a period of stability. That progress dissolved in less than 30 days. The agreement collapsed, pushing the region toward an even more dangerous phase of the standoff. This current conflict has moved away from the patterns of traditional warfare. Rather than a struggle over territory or casualties, this is a calculated economic war of attrition designed to paralyze global logistics and energy networks. In this environment, the ability to close a shipping lane is a more powerful lever than the ability to bomb a city. India's exposure to these tactics is nearly total. 95% of its entire import and export volume moves through sea routes. We can already see the financial consequences. Recent disruptions in the Strait of Hormuz alone pulled India's GDP down by 1.2%. The threat is now expanding. Iran and Houthi rebels have signaled their intent to implement a total blockade of the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, threatening to shut down the Red Sea entirely. For India, a naval standoff in the Middle East is no longer a distant diplomatic concern. It is an immediate, domestic economic crisis. To analyze these risks, we have to look at the 4 geographic pillars of India's maritime security. First is the Strait of Hormuz. This passage serves as the primary artery for India's energy supply, carrying the vast majority of its crude oil, LNG, and LPG imports. While India has diversified its suppliers by looking to Russia and the US, avoiding Hormuz is an expensive logistical challenge. It requires ships to take massive, fuel-intensive detours around the conflict zone. These detours create a direct financial strain on facilities like the Jamnagar refinery in Gujarat. Sourcing crude from more distant locations forces a sharp increase in the cost of industrial inputs. Even when oil is available, the increased transit distance erodes profit margins and drives up the price of fuel for every Indian household. The second pillar is the Bab el-Mandeb Strait. This is the vital gate that allows Indian manufactured goods to reach Western markets through the Red Sea. Because of the Houthi missile threat, cargo vessels are increasingly forced to abandon this route. They must now take the long, arduous path around the southern tip of Africa. This detour triggers a chain reaction of costs. Transit times double, freight rates surge, and the insurance premiums for maritime trade reach record highs. These expenses hit India's export hubs immediately. The ceramic industry in Morbi and the engineering sector in Rajkot are finding their global competitiveness threatened by these logistics bottlenecks. At major ports like Kandla, Mundra, and Hazira, the physical evidence of the crisis is clear. Yards are becoming choked with export inventory that has no clear way to market. Losing access to Bab el-Mandeb effectively traps India's industrial output within its own borders, placing a stranglehold on domestic manufacturing. Pillar 3 is the Suez Canal, the conduit for a 5 lakh crore rupee trade market with Europe. Finally, Pillar 4 is the Strait of Malacca, which serves as the essential supply line for India's manufacturing links with East Asia. If the current regional instability spreads to disrupt these final 2 passages, India will be forced to confront a wave of sweeping, uncontrollable inflation. The consequences of this economic friction reach far beyond the delivery of fuel or consumer goods. These bottlenecks are intersecting with the survival of India's long-term tech economy. Blocking these specific straits directly interrupts the flow of critical minerals like lithium, cobalt, nickel, and copper, the foundational materials for modern electronics and energy storage. Superpowers are currently using these regional disruptions to secure and hoard these resources, laying the groundwork for their own technological dominance over the next 20 years. Controlling the transit of rare earth minerals today dictates the technological hierarchy of the next 2 decades. Beneath the surface of the regional conflict, the United States and China are engaged in a struggle for long-term economic preeminence, a contest where India's rapid rise is viewed as a disruption to be managed. China has begun flying weapons and supplies directly to Iran, moving openly to protect the rail corridors and fuel lines that are essential to their own trade security. Simultaneously, the United States is deploying a strategy of overextension, using regional friction to bog down rivals and drain their resources, a pattern we have seen mirrored in the conflict in Ukraine. While China's primary naval fleet has yet to engage in the Strait of Hormuz, the geopolitical tension has reached its highest capacity in years. These strategies suggest the Middle East is being used as a staging ground for a broader proxy war, one that serves to exhaust the industrial momentum of rising powers like India. Experts classify the current warfare as a phase of limited control, but this balance is exceptionally fragile. The margin for error is thin. A single miscalculation, such as a direct strike on a major U.S. naval asset, would move the crisis from a logistics delay into an open regional confrontation that could shut down these lanes for the foreseeable future. Global trade is no longer just a system of exchange. It has become a primary geopolitical weapon, and India is currently navigating the crossfire.